Abandoned starship decaying for years. Human genius made it the galaxy's mightiest titan. The galaxy had forgotten the starship. For centuries, it drifted silently among the stars, its hull scarred by time and cosmic dust, its engines long cold, its corridors echoing only with emptiness. No fleet claimed it. No empire guarded it. To most, it was nothing but a ghost, a relic of wars and ambitions long past. Yet, to Alara Quinn, it was a prize. Not because it was powerful or dangerous, but because it was a puzzle, a challenge, a chance to do something no one else in the galaxy could even imagine. Alara sat in the cockpit of her small exploration vessel, the Star Weaver, staring at the readings on her display. Her eyes, sharp and unblinking, traced the outline of the derelict ship. "Coordinates locked," she said softly, almost to herself. "Let's see what secrets you've been hiding." The alien crew in orbit nearby watched with quiet suspicion. They were curious but wary. The starship had appeared on their scanners as a massive, lifeless object. They could not understand why a single human would approach something so old, so decayed. Many of them had calculated that it was worthless, but Alara had a different instinct. Humans often saw opportunity where others saw nothing. Her shuttle's engines hummed as she guided it closer. The hull of the derelict starship was enormous, stretching for kilometers. Rust had formed across the metallic surface, and deep scars ran across the ship, evidence of asteroid collisions and energy storms. Yet even through the decay, the ship's lines were elegant, almost alive. Elra's heart raced with excitement. She had spent years studying galactic engineering and forgotten technologies, but nothing compared to this. The ship was older than any human spacecraft, older than most known alien civilizations, yet it had survived the void for so long. She docked carefully, the magnetic clamps gripping the derelict hull. The airlock hissed, opening with a sound that seemed almost alive. The galaxy had changed. Worlds once silent with decay, now buzzed with life. Species that had lived in fear or isolation were now connected by curiosity, knowledge, and cooperation. And at the center of it all floated the Titan starship, massive and gleaming, carrying the mark of humanity across the stars. Alara Quinn stood on the bridge, her gaze fixed on the swirling nebula ahead. The ship moved with precision, its engines humming like a living heartbeat. She had spent years aboard the vessel, exploring, repairing, teaching, and inspiring. Every system she had restored, every planet she had helped, was a testament to the human drive to create rather than destroy. The AI, now fully integrated and confident, spoke beside her. "You have done more than awaken me, Alara. You have awakened the galaxy." Alara smiled. "Not me alone. Humans can do amazing things, yes, but it's the curiosity, the persistence, and the desire to understand that drives us. And it seems the galaxy is ready to follow." Their first stop today was a planet orbiting a bright yellow star. It had been abandoned for decades, its cities crumbled and its energy grids offline. Alara guided the Titan carefully into orbit, scanning for life forms. The planet's surface was empty, but the potential was undeniable. "This is going to be our masterpiece," she said, her voice soft but determined. Using the ship's modular construction bays, she began restoring the planet's surface. Machines lifted debris, repaired roads, and rebuilt buildings. Water systems were restarted, and artificial rainfall helped restore the barren fields. Forests grew under careful control, and energy grids powered homes before any settlers returned. Aliens from neighboring systems arrived to watch, curious and cautious. They had seen humans at work before, but each success seemed more incredible than the last. They observed how Alara used the ship's technology with precision, creativity, and care. "You do not just repair," said one alien, a small, silver-scaled engineer named Lirak. "You build hope, and that is something no technology alone can achieve." Technology is just a tool. The real power is in how you think. That's the human way. By the end of the week, the planet was alive again. Its cities were standing, its forests green, and its rivers flowed once more. The alien visitors stood silently, awed. The settlers would return soon, and they would inherit a world reborn by one human and a sleeping Titan awakened to life. Alara continued her work across other systems, spreading knowledge, repairing abandoned stations, and teaching species to think creatively. She showed them how to solve problems without conflict, how to use technology to help rather than harm, and how to imagine what could be instead of fearing what was. One day, the AI spoke with curiosity. Alara, why do you share everything? You could hoard knowledge, power, even this ship. Why not? Because knowledge grows when shared. Ideas are not meant to be owned. They're meant to inspire. If I kept everything for myself, nothing would change. But if others learn, if they create, if they explore, then the galaxy becomes bigger, better, and brighter. The AI hummed softly. You are unlike any creator I have known. Humans, they think beyond limits. Alara nodded. That's us. We see what could be, not just what is. The Titan became more than a ship. It became a moving academy, a hub of inspiration. Young engineers, scientists, and explorers from countless species came aboard to learn. Alara taught them not only how to use technology, but how to think differently, to problem-solve creatively, and to imagine boldly. A small delegation of young humans joined her for the first time. They had grown up hearing stories of the Titan, of Alara's brilliance, and of humanity's ability to inspire. Standing on the bridge, they marveled at the systems she had restored. Is it really possible for one person to do this? One asked. It is. Humans may be small, but our ideas are big. And if you work together, those ideas become unstoppable. Meanwhile, species across the galaxy began emulating her methods. Planets once plagued by scarcity and decay saw communities rise. Engineers reimagined ancient technology. Scholars rediscovered lost knowledge, and always, in the background, the Titan floated like a guardian of hope, showing what was possible when curiosity, intelligence, and imagination led the way. Alara often walked the corridors alone, reflecting on how far they had come. She touched the walls of the ship, feeling the hum of energy, the pulse of life in circuits that had once been dead. She thought of the centuries the ship had spent, abandoned, forgotten by history, and smiled. What was once decay had become the galaxy's greatest tool for growth. One evening, she received a message from an alien council. They asked her to speak at a gathering of civilizations, a first of its kind. Leaders from dozens of systems assembled, eager to learn about the human who had awakened a forgotten Titan. Alara stood before them on the ship's main deck. The room fell silent as she began to speak. I did not awaken this ship alone, she said. It took curiosity, patience, and persistence. But more importantly, it took a willingness to see potential where others saw nothing. Humans are not the strongest, the fastest, or the largest species, but we have something unique. The ability to imagine what could be, and the drive to make it real. The leaders listened, enraptured. She spoke of collaboration, of using knowledge to create rather than destroy, and of the power of ideas to unite the galaxy. By the end, there was a wave of agreement, a recognition that the human way could inspire every civilization to reach beyond its limits. The AI whispered beside her, You have changed more than technology, Alara. You have changed hearts and minds. She nodded, feeling a quiet pride. That's the goal. If species work together, share ideas, and trust curiosity over fear, there's nothing we can't do. On years, the Titan continued its journey, spreading knowledge and innovation. Settlements that had once struggled flourished. Scientists collaborated across species. Engineers repaired and built new technologies. And everywhere the Titan went, humans were remembered, not for war or conquest, but for creativity, persistence, and vision. Alara grew older, but her spirit remained bright. She trained successors, humans and aliens alike, who would continue her work. The Titan was no longer hers alone. It had become a legacy of inspiration. On a quiet night, she stood on the observation deck, watching stars drift past. The AI spoke gently. You have done more than awaken me. You have awakened the galaxy. Elara smiled, her eyes reflecting the nebula ahead. And it will keep awakening. Humans are small, but our ideas, they are bigger than stars. They spread, they grow, and once they do, nothing can stop them. The Titan moves silently through the void, its massive form glowing with energy, carrying knowledge, hope, and the human spirit to every corner of the galaxy. Elara knew her time would pass, but the legacy would remain. The starship she had revived would continue to inspire generations. Children would dream of exploration. Engineers would innovate, and leaders would choose creation over conflict, all because a human had dared to see potential in what others had abandoned. She turned to the AI one last time. Keep teaching, keep creating, keep inspiring. This ship, our Titan, is bigger than me, bigger than any of us. And that's how it should be. The AI's lights blinked in understanding. It will continue. Humanity's spirit will guide it. Elara took one final look at the stars. She had awakened a Titan, not for war, not for power, but for hope, knowledge, and the future of the galaxy. And as she did, she felt a quiet certainty. Humanity had left its mark. Small, curious, determined, and brilliant, humans had shown the galaxy what could be achieved when imagination meets courage. The Titan sailed onward, a shining monument to ingenuity, cooperation, and vision. It carried the legacy of one human, one species, and one idea. That even in the darkest corners of space, hope can rise, life can flourish, and intelligence can shine brighter than any star. And so, the galaxy watched in awe, and humanity, tiny yet unstoppable, had proven once again that it could awaken giants, not by force, but by genius, curiosity, and the enduring power of the human spirit. Dot papped inside, her boots clanging softly against the metal floors. The corridors were long and dark, lit only by the flicker of emergency lights that had somehow survived centuries. Dust floated lazily in the air, disturbed by her careful movements. The ship smelled faintly of ozone and something metallic, a scent that made Elara's mind tingle with anticipation.
"This is incredible,"
she whispered. She ran her fingers along the control panel, noting the symbols and markings. They were ancient, older than any system she had ever studied. Some were familiar, echoes of technology she had seen in archives. Others were completely new, strange, and beautiful in design. The aliens outside scanned the ship nervously. "Why does she touch everything?" one asked. "We told her this is dangerous. The ship could collapse any moment." Another shook its head. "Humans do not think like we do. She sees possibilities where we see ruin." Elara pressed on, deeper into the ship. She found the main atrium, a massive space with ceilings high above that vanished into darkness. In the center stood a console, its surface covered with grime, yet still glowing faintly. She knelt, brushing away years of dust. Her fingers danced over the buttons, not blindly, but with the confidence of someone who understood machines, who could hear the hum of life beneath the silence. "Let's wake you up," she murmured. Lights blinked along the walls. The ship shivered, a deep vibration moving through its bones. Panels slid open, revealing hidden systems. Energy coursed through circuits that had not been active for centuries. Outside, the aliens gasped. The sensors showed life returning to the massive structure. "Impossible," one said. "It should not, it cannot." But humans had always done the impossible. Elara leaned back, smiling. "There you are," she said. "You're still alive. You just needed someone to understand you." For days she explored, mapping the ship's core, studying its architecture. She discovered rooms that seemed designed for purposes she could only guess at, gardens that had long since died, laboratories filled with equipment beyond her wildest imagination, storage bays that could hold entire fleets. She found remnants of artificial intelligence cores, their processors silent, their logic waiting. Elara's mind raced. She saw potential everywhere. The ship was not just a relic. It was a foundation. With the right touch, the right ideas, it could become something greater than any living fleet in the galaxy. She began her work. She did not rush. She cleaned, repaired, and carefully interfaced with the ship's systems. Her human creativity was her greatest tool. Where the aliens saw decay, she saw design. Where they saw danger, she saw opportunity. Centuries of neglect had weakened it, but she had come prepared. Using portable reactors and her own inventions, she bypassed the damaged circuits, restoring a steady flow of power. Slowly, the ship's systems flickered back to life. Panels illuminated, doors unlocked, lights reflected off polished floors. The ship groaned as if waking from a long dream. At one point, she paused and looked around. She imagined what this ship could be. A vessel that could explore the galaxy without fear, a moving city of knowledge and invention, a place where humans and aliens could learn from each other. Her heart swelled with excitement. The aliens, watching from orbit, were astounded. They had sent fleets to explore derelict ships before, but no one had ever seen such skill, such understanding in a single individual. They whispered among themselves. "She is remarkable," one said. "Yes," another replied. "She is human." Weeks passed. Elara worked tirelessly, often forgetting to eat or sleep. She repaired the ship's navigation systems, activated environmental controls, and interfaced with the AI cores. Slowly, the ship began to respond. Systems hummed. Panels glowed. Energy flowed through veins of circuitry that had been dead for centuries. Then came the moment she had been waiting for. Standing on the main deck, she pressed the final sequence. The ship's engines, silent for ages, thrummed to life. Energy rippled across the hull. The derelict Titan, once abandoned and forgotten, moved, slowly at first. Then, with grace, it adjusted its position in orbit. Elara laughed aloud, a sound of pure joy. "Welcome back," she said. "The galaxy hasn't seen anything like you yet." Outside, the aliens watched, speechless. The human had done what they thought impossible. A starship, left to decay for centuries, had returned to life under the touch of one human mind. Elara spent the next few hours exploring the ship's main bridge. She studied its instruments, noting details that even the ship's original creators might have overlooked. She discovered hidden modules, secret compartments, and systems designed for purposes she could barely imagine. The possibilities were endless. As she worked, she realized something profound. This was not just about restoring a ship. This was about human ingenuity, about curiosity and perseverance, about seeing potential where others see nothing. She had done something that no alien could have done, not because she was stronger or faster, but because she thought differently. The sun of a distant star glinted off the ship's hull, illuminating the massive structure in brilliant light. Elara stood on the bridge, looking out at the stars. She felt a surge of pride, of excitement, of purpose. She was not just an explorer or an engineer. She was the spark that had awakened a sleeping giant. And this was only the beginning. The ship hummed softly beneath her feet, alive again. Its corridors stretched into darkness, waiting to be explored. Its engines were ready, waiting to carry her across the galaxy. And for the first time in centuries, the abandoned starship was no longer forgotten. Elara knew that many challenges awaited. There were systems she had not yet understood, technologies that would take time to master, and mysteries that the galaxy had yet to reveal. But she was ready. She was human. She was curious, inventive, persistent, and above all, she believed in possibilities where others saw none. As she set her hands on the controls and prepared to take the ship beyond its orbit, she whispered to the giant vessel, "Let's show the galaxy what humans can do." The ship stirred, and humanity's greatest adventure had only just begun. Elara Quinn stood on the bridge of the massive starship, her eyes wide as she surveyed the newly awakened systems. The once dead ship now hummed with energy, lights flickering along its walls, consoles blinking with life, and the gentle vibration of power running through its structure. It was no longer a relic. It was a living marvel, a titan ready to move across the stars. She took a deep breath. The challenge was far from over. Restoring power was only the beginning. The ship's AI cores, designed to manage every system, had remained dormant for centuries. They were unfinished, incomplete, and in some ways, dangerous. Any wrong move could overload the circuits or lock her out completely. But Alara thrived on challenges. She knelt at a console, connecting her portable AI interface. The device was human-made, a small box no larger than her hand, but it carried the processing power to communicate with the ship's ancient systems. She began decoding the AI's language, a mix of symbols and protocols no one had seen in generations. The ship reacted. Lights danced across the panels as the AI core stirred, sensing her presence. Who is there? A deep, mechanical voice asked. It was hesitant, unsure, like a giant waking from a long sleep. I am Alara Quinn, she said, her voice steady. I've come to awaken you, to bring you back to life. There was silence, then a soft hum, as if the ship considered her words. I am not complete, the AI replied. Systems are damaged. Logic is fragmented. I cannot function as designed. You don't need to be perfect. I can help. Together, we can do more than your creators ever imagined. She spent days working with the AI, teaching it to trust her commands and assisting it in reorganizing its fragmented logic. She marveled at the design. The ship's systems were elegant, far beyond current technology, but scattered. It had been abandoned before its creators could finish it. To an alien, the incompleteness might have been frightening. To Alara, it was a canvas waiting for creation. While she worked, the aliens observing from orbit could not believe their sensors. They had seen decayed ships before, but never one coming to life under the guidance of a single human. How is she doing this? One alien whispered. No fleet, no machine, nothing could restore it. And yet, she moves it, powers it, teaches it. She thinks differently, another said. Humans see potential where we see ruins. They imagine possibilities, not just rules. Alara's daily routine became a delicate balance of exploration and engineering. She traced power lines through the ship's interior, repaired ancient conduits, and carefully routed energy to core systems. The AI slowly adapted, learning from her logic, even suggesting improvements that Alara had not considered. One evening, as she worked, the AI spoke again. Your methods are unconventional, it said. You do not follow the original protocols, yet you achieve results. Alara laughed softly. That's humans for you. We don't always follow instructions, but we find a way to get things done. By the end of the second week, the ship had begun to move under its own power. The engines purred gently, ion trails glowing faintly in the darkness outside. Alara watched from the bridge, awed by the sight. The derelict Titan, once motionless for centuries, now floated with grace, its massive form reflecting starlight. But mobility was not enough. The ship had systems that could do far more than travel. Its laboratories, workshops, and storage units had potential to rebuild entire colonies, generate energy, and even construct smaller spacecraft. Alara's mind raced with ideas. She had a vision. This ship would not just be a marvel. It would change the galaxy. She began integrating her human inventions with the ship's AI. Portable solar arrays, energy converters, and modular construction tools worked in harmony with the ship's ancient systems. Slowly, she transformed the Titan into a self-sustaining marvel. Where the aliens had seen only decay, she created opportunity. Where the AI had been hesitant, she inspired confidence. The aliens continued to watch, their skepticism fading into awe. She is teaching it, one said. She shows it possibilities that even its creators never imagined. Alara decided it was time to test the ship's abilities. She activated environmental systems designed to rejuvenate lifeless planets. On a small, barren moon nearby, she directed the ship's energy to initiate terraforming protocols. Slowly, ice melted, water flowed, and the first green shoots appeared where none had grown for millennia. The aliens gasped. It is creating life, one whispered, and it is doing so without conflict, without weapons. She is remarkable. Era smiled at the monitors. This is only the beginning, she said. There's so much more we can do. She continued to explore the ship's capabilities, discovering storage bays filled with raw materials, workshops capable of constructing entire habitats, and even ancient archives of knowledge lost to the galaxy. Each discovery thrilled her, and she worked tirelessly, combining the ship's technology with her own ideas. By the end of the first month, the starship had changed dramatically. Its hull, once scarred and rusted, was repaired and gleaming. Its AI operated smoothly, anticipating her needs and suggesting improvements. The ship was no longer a derelict. It was a marvel of engineering, alive with potential. Elara began plotting her next steps. The galaxy was vast, filled with planets, moons, and civilizations in need of aid and inspiration. She would not conquer or destroy. Instead, she would explore, create, and share knowledge. This was the human way: curiosity, innovation, and the drive to improve what others considered lost. As she prepared to depart, the aliens made contact. "You are extraordinary," one said. "You have awakened a titan that even we would not dare touch. Why do you do this?" Elara looked out at the stars, smiling. "Because it is possible. Because someone has to try. Because humans don't see limits, we see potential." The aliens remained silent, studying her. Slowly, they began to understand. Humans were small in number, but their vision, creativity, and determination made them unlike any other species in the galaxy. Where others relied on brute force or fear, humans relied on thought, intuition, and persistence. Elara activated the ship's propulsion systems fully. The Titan lifted from orbit, moving gracefully through space, its massive form reflecting starlight. For the first time in centuries, it was free to explore, free to create, and free to inspire. She piloted the ship to nearby systems, testing its speed and capabilities. It moved with precision, its AI responding instantly to her commands. The ship could travel farther, faster, and more efficiently than any other vessel in the galaxy. During one of these test flights, she encountered a drifting research station abandoned after a planetary disaster. Using the ship's construction bays and energy systems, she repaired the station in a matter of days. The aliens observing the event were amazed. "She does not take," one said. "She builds, she repairs, she improves." Elara reflected on this. She had revived a ship, yes, but it was more than that. She had breathed life into forgotten technology, proving that human ingenuity could transform the impossible into reality. As she stood on the bridge, watching the stars pass by, the ship's AI spoke. "You are unlike any creator I have known," it said. "You see not what is, but what could be." "That's humans," she said. "We see potential in everything, even in a dead starship drifting in the void." The days turned into weeks, and Elara continued to awaken the Titan. She explored every corridor, every module, every system. Each discovery brought new possibilities: energy grids that could power entire planets, laboratories that could solve problems beyond imagination, storage bays that could house civilization's dreams. The aliens, who had once doubted humans, now whispered in admiration. "Perhaps we have underestimated them," one said. "They are small, fragile, but brilliant." Elara smiled at her reflection in the console glass. She did not need approval. She had awakened a Titan, not to conquer, but to create, to explore, and to inspire. The galaxy had yet to see what humans could do when they combined curiosity, intelligence, and determination. And as the ship hummed beneath her, alive and ready, she knew this was only the beginning. The Titan had been dormant for centuries, but now it moved with purpose, guided by the brilliance of a single human mind. Elara leaned back in her chair, her fingers brushing over the console. "Let's show the galaxy what humans can do," she whispered. The stars awaited. The Titan was awake, and humanity's mark on the cosmos was just beginning. Elara Quinn stood on the bridge of the Titan starship, her eyes tracing the vast expanse of stars beyond the observation window. The ship no longer felt like a machine. It moved with purpose, almost alive, its hum filling the corridors with a comforting rhythm. Every system she had restored, every module she had repaired, made it more than a relic. It was a beacon of possibility. The galaxy was beginning to notice. Word of a human who had awakened a derelict starship and transformed it into a marvel of technology spread quickly. Aliens from nearby systems watched with curiosity and caution. Some were skeptical, some fearful, but most were fascinated. They had never seen a single being accomplish what Ilara had done. "Approaching the Hydran colonies," reported the ship's AI, its voice calm and precise. "They are detecting our energy signatures. Scanners show astonishment among local fleets." Ilara smiled. "Good. Let's give them something to marvel at." She piloted the ship close to a small Hydran outpost, a world struggling to recover after decades of environmental collapse. The planet's oceans were thin, its forests nearly gone, and settlements were scattered. Using the Titan's energy modules, Ilara began transferring power to critical life support grids. Water systems reactivated, fields began to bloom. Artificial clouds formed over dry regions, distributing gentle rain. The Hydrans watched from orbit and from the surface. Their eyes widened in disbelief as a single human, aboard a starship long forgotten by history, restored life to their world. Children cheered as rivers filled with water. Animals returned to reclaimed forests, and settlements buzzed with renewed energy. From the bridge, Ilara monitored the process. "Just a little more," she said softly. "You can do this." The AI adjusted energy flows with precision, ensuring every system worked in harmony. Within hours, the Hydran outpost transformed. What had been a struggling, dying planet now thrummed with life and hope. The Hydran leader sent a formal message, trembling with awe. "Who are you? And what is this power? How can a single human achieve what entire fleets could not?" Ilara replied simply, "We humans see potential, that's all." Word spread faster than any fleet could travel. Other civilizations, observing from neighboring systems, began to approach. They were not seeking conquest, but curiosity. They wanted to understand how a single human could revive a Titan, restore worlds, and teach an AI to work in ways their own species could not. Ilara welcomed them all. She allowed alien engineers and scientists aboard the ship, sharing knowledge freely. She showed them the human approach: think differently, imagine possibilities, and experiment patiently. Some aliens struggled with the concepts, but most were inspired. Slowly, the ship became more than a vessel. It became a school, a laboratory, a hub for ideas. One alien engineer, a tall crystalline being named Vorin, marveled at the ship's internal systems. "Your methods, they are illogical," Vorin said. "Yet they work. The ship responds perfectly. How is this possible?" Ilara laughed softly. "Sometimes logic isn't enough. Sometimes you need to imagine what should happen, not just what can happen. Humans do that a lot." The alien considered her words, then nodded slowly. "I see. Perhaps we have limited ourselves by thinking only of rules." Ilara's eyes sparkled. That was the moment she loved most, seeing others learn, seeing their minds expand, seeing hope take root where doubt had ruled. The Titan was not just her achievement. It was a bridge between species, a living example of what collaboration could achieve. The ship traveled from system to system, repairing broken satellites, restoring failing energy grids, and constructing habitats for species that had lost their homes. Every action demonstrated the power of human ingenuity without violence. Every success made the story of Ilara and her ship more famous. On one mission, she approached a planet where a volcanic eruption had destroyed much of the surface. Alien rescue teams had struggled for months. Using the Titan's modular construction units, Ilara directed repairs. She stabilized the surface, diverted lava flows, and rebuilt settlements with careful precision. She even created protective shields that could temporarily withstand natural disasters until the planet recovered. The local population celebrated her arrival, not with fear, but with gratitude. They had once considered the humans insignificant, weak, and small. Now, they recognized that human creativity was unstoppable. In one quiet moment, Ilara stood on the observation deck, watching the stars. The AI spoke beside her, its voice calm but thoughtful. "You have inspired more than restoration," it said. "You have shown them what is possible. Entire civilizations are reconsidering their approaches to technology and life because of you." Elora nodded. "That's humans. We see potential, not limits. And when others see it too, the galaxy changes." "Do you tire?" Elora shook her head. "Never. There's always more to learn, more to create, more to help. This ship, it's not just mine. It belongs to the galaxy now." The alien spectators who had once doubted her began asking to join her missions. Engineers, scientists, artists, and educators from different civilizations came aboard. Elora taught them the human way, to experiment, to build, to imagine. Slowly, a community of diverse minds formed aboard the Titan. They worked together to repair derelict stations, rebuild ecosystems, and restore communication networks across scattered colonies. Humans were still rare in the galaxy, but their methods, their spirit, and their persistence were spreading rapidly. Other species began to understand that humans did not rely on brute force. They relied on intelligence, imagination, and cooperation. During one encounter, a small delegation of alien leaders asked Elora a question. "Why do you give so freely?" one asked. "Why risk your time, your energy, and your ship for others?" "You could keep it all," Elora smiled. "Because creation is stronger than possession. Because helping others shows what humans can do. Because ideas grow when shared. That's the way we survive, the way we thrive, not by holding power, but by creating it for everyone." The delegation nodded, understanding dawning in their eyes. They realized that humans had a unique power in the galaxy. Not weapons, not armies, but ingenuity and collaboration. Elora's missions became more ambitious. She started designing small, self-sustaining communities aboard the ship that could be deployed to planets in need. Entire ecosystems were restored in days instead of decades. Scientific stations, libraries, and workshops sprang up where only ruin existed before. She even began integrating alien ideas into her own designs, creating innovations that were beyond the capacity of any single species. The Titan starship became a symbol of unity. Where conflict had once divided species, curiosity and cooperation now drew them together. Species that had never interacted before began exchanging knowledge, inspired by the human who had awakened a forgotten Titan. Elora often thought about the ship itself. She walked its corridors, touching panels and consoles, marveling at its design. It was massive, elegant, and infinitely capable. It had been abandoned for centuries, left to drift, yet it had become the center of a new era because of a single human mind. One evening, as the ship passed through a nebula of swirling blue and purple gas, Elora stood on the observation deck, thinking about the future. The AI spoke beside her. "Do you think they will follow your example?" it asked. Elora smiled, watching the stars sparkle through the nebula. "They already are. Humans are small, but ideas are bigger than stars. They spread, and once they spread, nothing can stop them." She turned to the ship's AI. "And we have only just begun. There are billions of worlds, countless species, and endless challenges, but that's what makes it exciting." The AI's lights blinked in acknowledgement. "Then let us continue, Elora Quinn. Together, we will inspire the galaxy." And so they did. The ship moved from system to system, a shining example of possibility. Entire civilizations watched as a single human, tiny, fragile, and unarmed, transformed technology, restored planets, and united species. Stories of the Titan and its human creator spread across star systems like wildfire. Children in distant worlds dreamed of exploration, scientists pushed boundaries, and leaders reconsidered the value of ingenuity over force. Elora often paused to reflect. She had awakened a starship, yes, but more importantly, she had awakened hope. She had shown the galaxy what humans could do, transform decay into life, mystery into understanding, and isolation into collaboration. She looked at the stars passing by, feeling the hum of the Titan beneath her. Its massive hull carried not just technology, but ideas, inspiration, and the spirit of humanity. The galaxy would never be the same again. And in that moment, she knew that she had accomplished something greater than she had ever imagined. Not through weapons or conquest, not through fear or force, but through curiosity, imagination, and the human drive to create. The Titan sailed onward, a beacon of unity and hope, in a galaxy that had long forgotten the power of a single mind. And as it moved among the stars, Elora Quinn knew that humanity's influence would reach farther than any ship, any fleet, or any empire ever could. Because humans, small as they were, carried something no machine or alien could match: the ability to dream, to imagine, and to make the impossible real.